It is sufficient to see the distinction between purity of being and the pure self, in order to have supremacy over all modes of being, and to know all that there is to know. So, the distinction between purity of being and the pure self. Traditionally, yoga is thought to be about purification. Purification of the body, purification of the mind. You have to prepare the body and mind for realization. Well, this is like saying you have to prepare yourself for a sunny day, and if you don't prepare yourself for it, the sun isn't going to shine. There's a big difference between purity and purification. Purity is the natural state. It's the state of grace. And we fall from that state. And we can return to it at any point, like the prodigal son returning to his father. The prodigal son didn't have to prepare himself to be welcomed by his father. The father would welcome him in whatever condition he was. He's just glad to see him. But it's up to the prodigal son to return to the father. And you don't do that by any process of purification, any more than you prepare yourself for the sun to shine. You simply turn to it. This is spiritual practice. Absolutely no purification necessary. The self is pure. Awareness is pure. The self is pure. We return to it. How do you do that? Well, that's like asking, how do you wake up? How do you wake up in the morning? Do you wake up in the morning after you've done various exercises and you're deemed pure enough to wake up? No, you wake up when it's time to wake up. Some of the greatest obstacles to spiritual realization, to spiritual practice, are teachings on spirituality. A huge amount of ego is invested in spiritual teachings, and we must be ready to dismiss them. They're not worth the paper that they're written on. And we must also be ready to dismiss spiritual teachers, because we're not interested in connecting with anything out there, including spiritual teachers. The word here is self, self with a capital S. And this self doesn't relate to the ego, the personality, or some kind of psychology. It refers to simple awareness. So this is a distinction we have to be clear about. Purity of being and the pure self. And once you see this, then everything becomes very clear. I was watching a program last night. It was about the Russian space program, and it had its roots in the writings of a Russian mystic called Fyodorov. And there were some people who were talking very passionately about Fyodorov's ideas. And I could sympathize with this. I used to read P.D. Uspensky, who's associated with G.I. Gurdjieff. And there was this trait, you can see there's this trait in the Russian psyche for, it's an enthusiasm for ideas, for big ideas. It's quite wonderful. But spiritually I could see how completely pointless it is. The cosmists see they originally saw their future in terms of humankind conquering space, moving out into the universe, colonizing planets. Although nowadays apparently they're They see it in terms of communication with higher intelligences. And if you look on YouTube, you'll see lots of gurus, perhaps an Indian guru talking to some devotees, and you can see how the guru is being indulged by the devotees. Perhaps the guru is somebody who's in touch with wisdom, in which case it's worth watching the video and putting into practice what the guru is saying. But very often the main thing of these videos that's coming across is the simpering sycophancy of the devotees. And it doesn't matter what the guru is saying, it could be total nonsense, and yet it's being indulged by these people. So all there is to know isn't some kind of scientific omniscience. All there is to know is that it's important to realize the nature of what it is to be right here, right now. This is spiritually speaking from the point of view of the spiritual practitioner, the enlightenment practitioner. What we're focused on, what we're directing our energies to, is being here. Being in touch with the pure self. Being in touch with and appreciating the miraculous nature of our essential awareness. So whatever the mode of being, there is no mode of being that we are looking to entertain, that we're striving for, because there is only this one essential reality which transcends and encompasses all modes of being. It's the big self, and we have supremacy over all these modes, not in the sense that we can exercise control over these modes, but in that these modes have no control over us. They have no control over our samadhi. Our samadhi is full, complete, vibrant. There is nothing anywhere in any mode of being that can touch it.